All right. College football season is about to begin. We got our good buddy Spencer Hall. He is going to join us on Friday. Although I guess college football season already began. They played Farmageddon. That's Iowa State and Kansas State, but they played it in Ireland. And could they have called it Famine-geddon?
It's tough.
We can laugh about the famine now. It's been a long time.
I think any potato-based humor is fair game.
Hey, by the way, let me tell you something. I don't think there's any plague, natural disaster, whatever it is, that sounds quite as dire as a famine.
Yeah. Yeah. Not even a famine, a specific vegetable famine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They're like, yo, man, what are we supposed to do? That's what we got here.
Yeah, it's all we got. It's all that can grow here, and we can't eat. We can't grow it. So
we can't grow anything.
We got to get out of here.
And so for those of you who did you see what happened though? And I felt okay. So Kansas State got a quarterback named Avery Johnson. Not Avery Johnson, but Avery Johnson, right?
Yeah.
And
looks like a lot of the Kansas State quarterbacks that have been there.
Yeah, but this is what I didn't realize. Apparently his brother and his dad got into a fist fight in the streets of Dublin.
Yep.
You saw this?
Yep.
Okay. So I see, now granted, I am aware of New Orleans Avery Johnson. Okay. But even still, I see the guy's name is Avery Johnson. He's a quarterback for Kansas State, and his family is scrapping it out in the streets of Dublin. It was very similar to me.
They had to put out a statement.
They did. They did. But I would say it was in the moment, as I had heard about it and had not watched it, it felt very similar to me to, for example, the DC Sniper, where I read about it and I was like, whew, glad that ain't us. But
didn't know where you're going.
But first of all, go look up a picture of this Avery Johnson.
I know.
He looks like an Avery.
Yes.
But his daddy, that's a Johnson right there.
Yes.
That's a Johnson. And then his brother get up off the ground with these big ass cornrows. And I was like, oh, come on, man. I thought it wasn't us. There was no way. Let me make sure I get this right on this Avery Johnson. Let me just make sure. Because this kid. Oh, okay. Now that I look at this picture, I see it. I see it. But,
yes.
But still, I thought it wasn't us, man.
Dublin does that to people.
Yeah, all of that came together, and they were fighting in the streets. And by the way, it looked like I wasn't able to clearly glean a winner.
No, it was a draw.
It was a draw, which, my take on this. If the son beats the dad in the fight, daddy ain't shit on one level or another.
Yeah, that's the he gets the big piece of chicken forever.
That's right. What do y'all got to move? Right? That's
Christmas is canceled.
Somebody here has to move. But anyway, I just needed to note that before we got this, get going on this. But the story clearly of this upcoming college football season is Arch Manning. And why? I just need somebody to explain to me why. What's the big deal here? Okay, now look, and I say this as somebody who used to root for Texas until it became a complete and total affront to my own dignity for me to continue to do that. I asked the why about Arch, not why people are interested. I think it's not that difficult to understand why somebody would be interested, at the very least on the surface, right? He is a 5-star recruit. He does seem to be very talented. And as I've said many times, I find it interesting that finally Archie Manning's genes passed down with someone who could also throw and run. Because for those of you who don't understand, Archie Manning could go. And I feel like Archie Manning had to be embarrassed at looking at how slow his sons are. Kind of like when some black people look up and find out that the kids can't dance. Like, damn, how do I create a solution to this problem? But anyway, I just want to read something out to you right fast. So far, Arch Manning in his Texas career has started 2 games, has completed 61 of 90 passes for 939 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And I want to be very clear that those are really good numbers. I also want to be very clear that Arch Manning has started 2 games and could not take the job from Quinn Ewers. Now, I don't know why exactly he couldn't take the job from Quinn Ewers. I don't know if you saw this, Ryan, but they did an interview, at press availability, and I forget one of the receivers. They asked who threw a more catchable ball, Arch or Quinn, and the response was no comment.
That's not great.
Yeah, but I don't know which comment.
Which way?
It is,
it's
right?
Bad for one of them.
I don't know if you saw Quinn Ewers play any preseason football, brother, but I can't. There are people using hyperbolic terms to talk about Arch Manning thus far, and I just don't know where you're getting it from. I mean, he may turn out to be that guy. Like, I'm not saying he's not that good. I'm saying I don't know how we know, right? Like, I don't have a great understanding why we're so confident in this, other than we so believe in the sell now on this kind of. The late, great Neil Postman made a point in one of his books that he thought that we would reach a point where a prerequisite for running for political office would be some measure of celebrity that happened prior. He thought that was going to be an effect of television. And we have seen that bear itself out in the political world. I bring that up because these recognizable last names seem to be what creates stars in sports right now as much as anything else. Is like, oh, you're related to somebody. What gets me about Arch is his daddy wasn't even a quarterback. His daddy is the other one, the super coop dude.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you have the famous family, but it's not coming from that direct gene pool.
Yo, that's what I'm saying. Like we're doing all this for a nephew? For a nephew who, by the way, is about to walk into one of the more pressure-packed situations that I can think of, right? Like maybe he has the Eli Manning gene and all of this just rolls off his back. Maybe he's got the Peyton Manning gene and he thinks too much. I don't really have the answer. Yeah, just like that. Tight as a drum. Tight as a drum. Couldn't stick a pin in with a jackhammer. You are absolutely correct. I don't know if it's that one, but Texas is the preseason number 1. They are starting the season at Ohio State. They are actually underdogs. Preseason number 1 is underdog in the first game, going against the defending national champions. And I just want to throw something out here for people who may not be that familiar with Texas football. I'm going to rattle off in my lifetime, and if I'm forgetting somebody feel free to let me know. But the super duper top-notch quarterback recruits, like the ones that walked on campus, are people like, oh, something's going to be different now. Shea Morenz, Chris Sims, Vince Young, Garrett Gilbert, and Quinn Ewers. None of them went exactly as expected.
Colt, this is a little before me, but Colt wasn't a big-time recruit?
No, Colt is actually one of the more amazing, I can't believe this happened out of nowhere success stories of all time.
Also one of the most underrated college careers.
All-time great. All-time great. He and Tim Tebow are the same caliber of college player. But do you know where Colt McCoy originally committed to play college football?
I do not.
LSU.
That's incredible.
He committed to go to LSU, and then once it became clear that Ryan Perrilloux, even if he hadn't told nobody, was going to go to LSU, Colt then went to Texas, where Perrilloux had been committed. There's a like 3 degrees of separation for Ryan Perrilloux.
That's a podcast for 10 people that me and you would be very interested in.
Yes, exactly. But all 10 of us would have a ball. Yeah. A ball, I tell you. But every single one of those, Vince Young, it took a season and a half before that got going. Yeah. The Chris Sims saga was a 4-year drama the whole way. Morenz never turned out to be that guy. Garrett Gilbert eventually made the NFL, but had to leave because it was so bad while he was at Texas. And Ewers, it never quite added up, right? So now, Ohio State, playing a game at Ohio State as a Texas quarterback. To me, there are 3 Vince Young games from college, 3 specific Vince Young games. 2 of them are Rose Bowls. In between those 2 Rose Bowls was the game at Ohio State where A.J. Hawk had, I want to say, 10 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, and was way late. It was an incredible game for a defensive player, except the problem was that dude was on the other side, and he walked him down and won that game at the Horseshoe. Like, that was for real, something is really happening here with this guy, right? This is the site 20 years later of one of the biggest wins in the history of the program. And this is the stadium that Arch Manning is walking into with the number one team in America that seems to be finally on the verge of fulfilling the promise of what this program can be in the right people's hands. And before this game has even been won, we have people talking about him like he is probably going to be the greatest quarterback ever. Not everybody is saying that, but this is what we're saying all the way across the board. And that all feels like wishing, right? It all to me just feels like selling a story that would be good for business for all parties involved. But it is a amazing to me level of stardom and fame for somebody that hasn't like really done anything. I mean, you have guys that get super famous in college, right? Reggie Bush is a great example of a guy like Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Tim Tebow. But that level of fame normally comes
after
subsequent to some kind of receipt, right? Like in one form or another, something of, oh, you did this, like Herschel Walker, right? As another example, like there's some form of, oh, that guy did this. That's why. That's not what's happening here.
And Arch Manning was a big-time recruit, but he didn't play big-time high school football. And, you know, we have a long history in college football of, like, anticipated debuts, but not after a guy has been on campus for 2 years. That doesn't happen anymore.
Right. And he had coming out of school a lot more truthers than somebody, like the range of, is it just because his last name is Manning? Questions about, if you're that good playing at the level of high school football that you played at, why weren't your teams a little bit better? And look, it's not like that school never had great players, both Mannings, Odell Beckham, but even still, the question was like, hey, so, they could have been better, right?
Right.
Like there's a lot of that. There's a lot of, I think that this will be a more interesting situation if we approached it with questions rather than approaching it with hype. But we have decided already that he's the guy. This is the story. And I guess we're going to see on Saturday now, won't we?
Speaking of hype, did you see the excerpt from Seth Wickersham's book?
The one part that I saw.
Okay. I want to read it for the people who have not seen it because I think we're going to say the same thing.
Yes, go ahead.
No one knew where Arch Manning wanted to go to school. Some in the family preferred Georgia, where head coach Kirby Smart would coach him hard. Others, Alabama. The problem for Alabama was that Nick Saban, whom the Crimson Tide assistants affectionately called Daddy, was getting up there in years and no one knew how long he'd be there. Daddy.
Well, hold on. That leads to the next part.
Okay, all right.
So
that part was a little dicier. I didn't know if you wanted to bring that one
up.
No,
I do. So for those of you who don't remember, Steve Sarkisian had to leave USC because he suffered one of the more embarrassing moments that anybody has ever had. And he was a raging alcoholic and acted bad in public in a way that it could not recover from. And so they let him.
Was publicly embarrassing.
Yes, it was dreadful. He left there and he made the slow walk back, right? Like he was offensive coordinator in the NFL. He then wound up being offensive coordinator at Alabama because I think his buddy Lane got him back on at Alabama, and then he became, an offensive coordinator there. And he got the Texas job. And Pete Golding, who was the defensive coordinator at Alabama, was the one tasked with recruiting Arch Manning. And he basically said, he hopes everything goes okay with Sark. Just hope he doesn't fall off the wagon.
Yeah. It was the most Southern passive aggressive thing I've ever seen in my life.
It was.
Bless his heart, but I hope he doesn't make those mistakes he used to make.
Yeah. I hope he doesn't fall off the wagon. And then when somebody says something to Golding about it, he was like, Daddy's on me about this one. That was because I think the thing was sometimes with a recruit, part of it is about how good he is. Part of it is about winning. Like not letting that guy go somewhere else, not letting you don't want Texas to build the momentum that comes from having landed a recruit like Arch Manning, right? The signal that it winds up giving. Like maybe that's not the thing that he wants, but yeah, he said, Daddy's on me about that one. Here's the thing about it. As bad as everybody found that. Every single job that Steve Sarkisian has gotten after that, somebody has had that exact question.
Of course.
Exact question. I will say this because I actually don't think coaching at Texas comes with a lot of annoying things, but I don't think it's a high pressure job. Being the offensive coordinator at Alabama, that's a high pressure job.
Yeah.
And he survived that. Like once he got to the other side of that, it's kind of like, oh, okay, you straight.
Yeah.
I think you're going to wind up being okay. But that is still wild that he was just like, hope he doesn't fall off the wagon. And I'm looking at Pete like, brother, I'm just here to tell you right now, that one's not going to work. They've already thought about this.
Yeah.
Like, I assure you that Archie Manning has already considered this part and has asked this man about it when nobody else around. Promise you, the recruit got all the leverage. Daddy's all me. I'm sorry, y'all. I've worked with and for some very impressive people. Some more domineering than others. However, I ain't calling no 5'6" man daddy. You got me messed up.